It's been 49 days since I last ate sugar, and I want to talk about how the decision to quit sugar has completely changed my life. I'll talk about all that usual stuff, the weight loss, the better skin, but I want to talk about some different changes as well, life-changing results that people may not consider when they go on this journey themselves. I don't want to come across like some sort of preachy know-it-all, so I want to give some context here by explaining just how bad my problem with sugar has been for most of my life. I'm 40 now, and basically for the first 38 and a half years of my life, I've really struggled with sugar. It was the last real obstacle I had to face in my journey to try and become healthier. About this time last year, I finally managed to stop my cake addiction. I'd eat it every day, and it was the only vice I had left after stopping drinking wine, eating pizza every day, and cutting out almost all ultra-processed foods and Pepsi Max. Cake was the last thing that I had left. But the problem was that I only wanted to get the very best cake, and that meant going to one very specific cake shop, which is around a 12-mile round trip from where I live, to buy it. And the amount of cake I ate was gradually increasing. I was spending more money, and when I dug a bit deeper, I got a big shock. In those final 12 months of my cake habit, I'd spent £3,000 in a single year just on cakes for myself, for Laura, and the 2 children. Not only that, I never kept it in the house for too long, as I just eat more and more of it, so I ended up going out specifically for the cake. And after counting all those card transactions, I went to this cake shop 194 times in a year. So I drove just over 2,300 miles in a year just to get cake, and spent over £3,000, which doesn't even cover my fuel costs for the car. It was madness. Just think how much time I was wasting. And that was just recently. My childhood was filled with sugary experiences, excessive amounts of chocolate, sweets and cakes, and this upbringing took me into adulthood unprepared to cope with a world that was saturated by sugar. I've spent literally over 90% of my life having a problem with sugar. It got to the stage last year with my cake problems that enough was enough. So last year, in September, I quit sugar for 30 days. It actually turned into about 80 days, and the results were amazing. Life-changing results. But, and there's a big but here, I started eating sugar again just before Christmas, and oh boy, did it turn on the taps of indulgence, and it really was my fault. Without any thought at all, I just kind of assumed that I would indulge in sugary treats over the Christmas period last year. I thought it would be impossible to carry on my challenge into December, because my whole life, Christmas has been associated with food and indulgence, and I didn't think for a moment that I'd be able to avoid it. So on one fateful day in November last year, I made a decision that at this Christmas fair I went to with my son, I would try and find the nicest and tastiest looking dessert I could find and indulge in it. In the following days, I went a bit crazy. I came back from the supermarket with armfuls of festive treats to consume after every meal, and my weight went back up again. But fast forward to now, and this time things were different. You see, I knew I could do it because I'd done it before, and this time I wasn't obsessed with cake so much, so I thought it would be a lot easier for me to quit. So, was it? I felt absolutely nothing. I mean, day 1, day 2, every day I just woke up, went about my day, made sure I wasn't eating sugar, and I felt nothing. There were no cravings, no issues, no despair or desperation. I felt those things when I quit last year, but this time around there was genuinely no feeling at all. I'm not quite sure why this happened. I was expecting something, as I'd been indulging in quite a few cookies and donuts, which ironically my gym just started selling, but I found it really easy. And I can't really explain why. I don't want anyone to think that this is easy, because it isn't. It wasn't for me the first time I did it, and people really do struggle with sugar addiction. The only explanation I possibly have is that because I did it before, my body knew what to expect, or I wasn't coveting the sugar so much anymore anyway. Laura does the food shopping, and my decision made things a little awkward, as so many random jars of things you think could be healthy have sugar in there in the ingredients list. And I want to touch on this in a little bit because it's something I find really annoying and hard to deal with. So why quit sugar? I mean, it makes everything taste so nice. And then you realise That is literally the only thing that sugar has going for itself, that it makes things taste a bit nice. I came to realise that not only does it just make things taste nice, it is effectively tricking your brain into thinking food is tasting nicer than it should. Food companies add this in order to make their food more palatable and make us wanting more. And this is completely normal and hardly anyone cares, because it is just so normalised in society. I've read enough books and looked at the science, the studies, and consumed thousands of hours of podcasts to know that there are hundreds of reasons, probably thousands, to not eat sugar. It is responsible for so much disease and misery in the world, and there seems to be only that one reason to have it. It's sweet and it tastes nice. Maybe that's why I was able to cope quitting. I'd learned so much about how bad it was, I simply didn't want it anymore. Sugar is in pretty much everything. In the UK it's bad, but in America it seems to be worse. I didn't used to check the ingredients, and I didn't really used to care, but looking at things and checking for sugar has really helped me to realise that things that I thought were healthy aren't. It's just so normal, and there are no rules or regulations that say that food companies are limited to a certain amount of sugar in their products. They just put it in there to make their thing taste better and sell better. Saying that reminds me of a conversation I had once with an old lady in the supermarket. I was buying some kimchi and she saw me reach for it and she went for hers. It was a different one. And she said to me that she tried all of them, and this one, the one that she was holding, was the one that tasted better than any other she tried. I checked the ingredients and there it was, sugar. Now, there wasn't much sugar in it, only an extra 2 grams per 100 grams compared to the one that I had, which was sugar-free, but it's there for a reason. But the one that I eat has worse reviews than the one that contains sugar, and the one that contains sugar has got a 2-star Great Taste Award, whereas mine only has a 1-star award. It makes me wonder if it's just because of that little bit of extra sugar. I know this is really nitpicky, I've picked a really odd thing to talk about as an example here, but you see it in all sorts of different things. Pick anything in the supermarket. Sausages, sausage rolls, bacon. I don't know why I'm going for pork so much, but like random everyday things that British people love to buy, and there'll be sugar in a lot of them. It seems manipulative because people will be genuinely thinking they are doing the right thing and making the good choices, and that they don't eat sugar because they never touch dessert or cakes, but in fact, they are probably getting a good dose of a few teaspoons of sugar per day in the most random assortment of things that they didn't even think it was in. That's what was happening to me on top of the bucket load of cake I was eating. There's also close to 100 different names for sugar that they use for it on ingredients labels. So you have to be really careful with what you're looking at. If a food company decides to put sugar in its ingredients but calls it invert sugar syrup instead, they're only doing it for one reason: to make you think it's a bit posher sounding or not quite as bad as just plain sugar, but it's the same thing, and it's allowed. Taking the time to really consider everything I was eating was one of the biggest improvements I made whilst on this journey. Let me explain. When I had to double check what I was eating didn't contain sugar, it made me more mindful of what I was eating. It gave me more power over my choices. We had a bit of a family get together a few weeks ago to celebrate something, and it's been really hot. So we decided to make a bit of a cold meal or have picky bits, or things we could all just grab, like breads and dips, cold meats, that sort of thing. Not massively healthy, but you know, there it was. I went out to buy everything, and before I would have mindlessly just thrown everything into the basket: the hummus, sauces, bread, sausage rolls, pork pies, without really giving much thought to what was inside. I know that pies and sausage rolls aren't healthy. The point is, it could have been a lot worse than it was, because it turned out that a lot of the things I would have chosen first based on price had sugar in. My visit to the shop took twice as long as normal because I was checking all those ingredients, but it helped me to learn a lot and also made me feel far more in control of my decision making. Being in control of our own decisions and having agency over our existence, I believe, is the number one most important quality of being a human in this society. If I'd gone into a shop for this event and had mindlessly thrown everything I came across that looked good or that I've thought would have worked for the meal into my basket, What sense of agency do I have whilst doing that? All those special deals, things on the ends of the aisles and in random bins and pallets of food and not giving me a choice, they're just trying to make me impulsive. So by slowing down and really looking at the ingredients and considering the best possible sugar-free option, I felt almost liberated, like I had my agency back in my decision making again. Now, time to talk about weight loss. I don't weigh myself every day anymore. I used to do it religiously twice a day, but I don't at all anymore. I did weigh myself at the start of this challenge and I managed to lose 5 pounds in the first 30 days, and I've lost another half a pound between then and now on day 49 when I'm recording this. I had quite a decent starting weight to begin with this time round, and I recently did a body scan where I came in at 171 pounds and my body fat percentage came in at 15.2%. Now, the thing that shocked me the most was this. It was 2 lots of data on my Whoop tracker. Before you think I'm about to bore you to death with some data, these 2 things are really interesting, and these may be things that others haven't considered when making the decision to quit sugar. My resting heart rate, that's my heart rate whilst I'm asleep, plummeted to its lowest ever level at the start of this challenge, and I mean it really plummeted. My average was already pretty good at around 50 to 52 beats per minute whilst in bed, but my average for the first month of the challenge was 46. 46 was my average though, and that included a week in there where we experienced some of the hottest ever weather, and it made me struggle for a few days. My previous lowest ever heart rate recorded at sleep was 45, but in the first 30 days of the challenge, I beat that 6 times. I've now recorded a new low of 43. My heart rate variability, or HRV, a metric that a lot of people monitor to determine how healthy their heart is, went from its usual average of 51 to 53 all the way up to 64, an increase of over 20%. And some people will be paying tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to see a 20% improvement in their HRV. And it seems I managed to achieve it just by cutting out sugar from my diet. Is it that simple? I'm not sure. Because I haven't just cut out sugar, have I? I've cut out all the food that I would have eaten with the sugar in it. So that includes an awful lot of ultra-processed ingredients, including another big one, seed oils, like rapeseed oil or canola oil. And around the time I started this challenge, I did start taking a new omega-3 supplement with a higher dose. I almost wish I'd done this at a different time because I'm left now with a bit of a conundrum. Did these amazing improvements in my heart health come from mainly not eating sugar? Or is it the omega-3? Or is it both? I guess the only way to tell would be to eat sugar again or to stop the omega-3, but I don't want to do anything that would negatively impact any progress I'm making at the moment, but who knows, maybe in the future. The other improvements I saw were better skin, got less spots and blemishes, less lines, a bit smoother. If I didn't frown so much, I'd have less lines up here too. I'm less bloated in both my face and throughout my body, and I feel like I have more energy. I'm able to do more. My head feels like I'm in a better place. I'm less prone to snapping or being short or in a mood, something I've had a big problem with in the past. So the benefits seem to overwhelmingly outweigh the negatives to quitting sugar, yet I'm left in a bit of a pickle. Will I eat sugar again? I'm not sure. The last time I did this, I told myself I would never eat sugar again because of how it made me so much of a better person, a better father. Yet I managed to succumb to temptation and I started eating it again as Christmas came by. Well, it's still 5 months till Christmas, and that gives me much more time this time round to keep off sugar a bit longer. Maybe I won't be tempted as much, as I've clocked in over 6 months without it by Christmas time. But I've got a family holiday coming up next week, and in the past, that's also meant indulgence and lots of it. And I'm feeling quietly confident about it this time, like I can avoid the sugar and find healthier options. When Laura and the children are enjoying ice cream on the beach, I can just stand to the side sipping on my black decaf, or maybe indulge in a bottle of water. I think I'm just a bit worried that if I decide to eat sugar again, for whatever reason, maybe just one meal, I decide to indulge just one more time, that the just one more time will turn into weeks and months of sugar consumption that I'm just unable to put a stop to. Right now, I want to say never again. But our food environment a lifetime of habits and some pretty heavy marketing have that way of just pulling you back in again. Maybe I'll make another video on it if I eat it again. Subscribe to find out.